Welcome to Uptime Spotlight, shining light on wind energy's brightest innovators. This is the progress powering tomorrow.
Welcome to the Uptime Wind Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Hall, and I'm with Joel Saxum, and we're in Ann Arbor, Michigan with Matthew Stead, Chief Product Officer and co-founder of EOLOGIX-PING. And he's traveled all the way from Australia to be here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We are at the SkySpecs Customer Forum 2025. We've been spending the last couple of days with most of the operators in the United States, learning about what issues they are having and how they're using SkySpecs to reduce their overall operational costs. And boy, Matthew, it's been a really interesting couple of days hearing where customers are struggling and where they are trying to attack lost revenue.
Yeah, I think it's been amazing. I'm so pleased to be here, and yeah, it was great to get the invitation from SkySpecs. I think really the things that I've been hearing is the data and pulling data together to getting those insights as to what's going wrong, and then fixing it and getting the money back.
Yeah. The big thing here, we're talking about the one big beautiful bill, and it's followed on the industry.
Yeah.
Right. So the theme of the event is predict, perform. I'm gonna get it wrong again.
There's 3 Ps.
3 very important Ps. But what we're looking at is how can digitalization, how can the next generation of intelligent asset management change the way we do things? Because you can't do things reactively like we were in the past anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when budgets were tight before, they're going to get even tighter. We're gonna have to make sure that these assets are running, and that's where like your smarter, right?
Yeah.
Your solutions come into play. The SkySpecs team, the conversations in the sessions, the conversations around the sessions, the conversations over a beer. They have all been about the same concepts, right? About how can we do this better, more efficiently. And one of the reasons I really like events like this is, like you said, Alan, you have all these operators, you have all of these engineers. It's a room full of 50 engineers that probably control, 60 to 70% of the
most of the U.S. fleet.
in the U.S. fleet, right? So you have so much knowledge, so much sharing, and it's an open forum. You have people piping up, hey, we use this strategy. Hey, we do this. Hey, I heard some really cool things this week.
Yeah. At breakfast this morning, I was sitting to 2 guys, one from Canada, one from the US, and they were talking about repowering. One guy's got GE turbines. He didn't know that he could put a Vestas nacelle on a G turbine.
Yeah.
And so these guys have exchanged details. Bam.
Yeah.
That was beautiful to watch.
Well, yeah, Joel and I have been hosting a number of panels during the SkySpecs event. Those have been eye-opening. I hosted one earlier yesterday, and the panelists, I don't want to get too deep out who the panelists were because a lot of this is obviously just be kept in-house, but some of the approaches to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act were unique. The insights there that a lot of operators were planning for it since last year, and that they felt like this, where we are today, was likely to happen, and they were making adjustments way back in October, November of last year. So the repowering issues that we talk about a lot, and you hear smaller operators really struggling with, bigger operators already had a plan of attack.
Safe harbor.
Yeah.
We've heard that word a lot, right? And that was it was a plan from some of those big operators, their senior leadership that shared some of their strategy, which I was surprised they did. It was fantastic. But if you haven't been safe harboring or in contact with some good tax lawyers to understand the fall of these things and what it means to your operation, do that now, because we have this cliff coming July 4th next year, and then at the end of the year after that.
Yeah, so the amount of planted assets is going to go down, and I think everybody in the industry has been talking about that. You see a lot of news reports about the number of wind turbines that will likely be repowered is going to drop down. However, a lot of operators have 10-year plans, and those plans have not really changed all that much. They weren't super aggressive. They knew that during the Biden administration, this was just an extension of the Obama administration, but eventually it was going to end. And so they were preparing for the end anyway, and you hear that in their operational strategy. You hear about how they're trying to reduce their overall spend. Every year, they're trying to reduce their O&M budgets by 1% or 2%, even though the fleet's getting bigger.
Yeah, an interesting conversation I had this morning was right around that this was not the same operator you and I talked to, but a different one, saying that, hey, we're good through 28, 29. Now, what happens with the next administration changes things. But then another person at the table, this was breakfast again, said, that being said, what does the job market look like for engineers? My take on it was engineering staffs are being changed. However, if you're an SME, that's where it lies. And this person at the table was like, that's awesome to hear because my new boss just asked me to be the SME for blades in our company. I was like,
bonus.
Chase it. Yes, bonus.
Chase that raised today.
Yeah.
I two things struck me. One was, first of all, that actually having the bill is clarity. I mean, it's actually good. So, I mean, that struck me as a real positive that actually there can be...
Getting out of the gray area.
There is some optimism there. And the other thing I heard, many people were talking about not necessarily repowering. They were talking about whole of life, O&M strategies.
Right.
And then if repowering happens, so that was a bit of a lesson learned for me.
Well, there's a lot of operators that are in the United States have a European branch or European base.
Or they came from there. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's just a completely different model than what we've been talking about in the United States and what has been offered in the United States. But that European strategy has transferred over. And
it's always been.
Yeah, and the plans are there now. And because they started several months ago, practically a year ago now, they have some sanity looking forward. They're not panicking. And I was expecting to hear a little more cautiousness, a little more panic. No, not really.
It's the same conversation that we've been having on the podcast for since the fallout of this thing back in July of this is going to change operational strategies. But being here, we're only 3 months removed from that. And it seems like the strategies are already there.
It was,
right? They're already like, yeah,
They're
we know,
smart.
we're moving. Yeah, they're big companies, right?
Offshore is different. I think offshore is where they got a little broadsided.
Yeah.
Onshore, not so much. And because every operator pretty much has some level of solar, some level of battery, they just see, all right, if wind's going to get pummeled for a few months, we're going to put in a bunch of solar. And the plans were already in place to do it anyway. So we're going to do the solars, we're going to do the batteries, we're going to make the grid more resilient, regardless of what happens to wind, which is great. I mean, in my opinion, some of the discussions happening in SkySpecs this week were the grid's going to get more resilient. We're going to handle the AI data power increase, and here's how we're going to do it.
I heard this morning in another major operator, 5-to-1 solar farms to wind farms.
Yeah.
That they're installing.
Yeah. More and more, it's wind, solar, battery, and in the same sentence.
Yeah, and solar has always been falling way behind in wind. Wind is way out in front of solar, and now solar's finally catching up. And it needed to be that way. It's what's happening in Australia. You have to have a balance. You can't have all solar, no wind, all wind and no solar. You have to have both, plus a little bit of battery.
Definitely in Australia, solar has been above wind for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's swinging the other way, right? There's a lot of wind development going on in Australia and a lot of battery going on in Australia. So that balance is needed. And as we go forward, I think, especially when we learn more about what happened in the Iberian Peninsula over the past spring, we're going to realize more solar, more wind to balance it out. And then we're also going to need more battery to level it out.
Yeah.
And then the grid stability is going to be tremendous, way better than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's unique. Now, one of the things that was announced today was the partnership between EOLOGIX-PING and SkySpecs. So, Matthew, would you like to talk to that?
Yeah, I mean, SkySpecs have a great name in the industry. And, I think the missing piece for them has been sensors. And lightning sensors, the event lightning sensor that we offer is perfect into their business model. So it ties in with there's an event, there's an inspection, then there can be some actions. It can get dealt with really super quickly. Maybe strike tape as well. Is necessary, of course. But yeah, I'm super pleased. This one's been a little bit of in the making, but yeah, super pleased that SkySpecs announced that this morning.
Joel and I look at SkySpecs drone images and internal inspections all the time in regards to lightning, and every time I see a listing of damages on a wind farm, probably 30 to 60%, depends on where you are, of the damages are from lightning. So it makes sense for SkySpecs to give everybody an alert. If lightning is that important to the operational performance, knowing you've been struck is the first thing you should know.
Yeah, and there wasn't the email from Intel Store last week with lightning damage up there near the top. Yeah. Well,
in the way SkySpecs runs their operation, as far as they're very regimented on workflows, and this is how this plan works. This is how this plan works. When they debuted it this morning, It was very clear to, this is how it's going to work. Here's how the workflow is. Lightning, bang, bang, bang. And then it was documentation if you're under FSA for your OEM. It was documentation if you have an insurance claim, and or their tech-enabled insights. Hey, here's what the damage looks like. Do you need a repair? And then repair vendor management. And the whole thing fits together. At the same time, conversations about if you're in a heavy prone lightning area, now we have more and more data, accurate data to make decisions on. So do you need a strike tape or something of that sort?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the problem you see today is when they have lightning damage, they have to do an RCA. RCA takes anywhere between, say, at a minimum 4 weeks to 20 weeks to get produced. In that RCA process, they're trying to figure out when the lightning strike occurred, how big was it, all these other details. And if you knew immediately that a lightning strike had occurred and you had done the inspection according to SkySpecs, you would have all that data, and you would be able to have an RCA done in 7 days, which is brilliant, because that's where you go back to the insurer, to the FSA agreement, and go, all right, we need to get something done.
Yeah, I was talking to an insurer, and their biggest bugbear was actually the time taken to resolve the matter.
Yes.
Because they're paying for a daily whatever.
Business interruption.
Yeah. Nine grand a day, 12 grand a day.
Which is regularly, in the insurance world, 3 to 1 cost of property damage.
Exactly. So they'd be super keen to get this resolved quickly. No arguments.
Get the repair made if it has to be made, get the turbine back operating, start producing, so the business interruption payments stop.
Yeah, if you're a SkySpecs customer and you're already getting inspections done regularly, depending on your model, you might be doing them quarterly. You have other headaches if that's going on, but you have
Debond.
Yeah,
sorry.
But you have a health record, right? So you know what the status of that turbine was. Then there's a strike at a certain time. You go back to the last inspection. There was no damage. New inspection, there is damage. Okay, now we have a reality. We know what the strike was. We know where the damage is. Here's a PDF. Boom, that's proof.
And there's so much happening at EOLOGIX-PING at the moment, and we're lightning based because we're a lightning company. So we're looking usually at the tip, but EOLOGIX-PING has been doing a lot of work at the root of the blade more recently because of the root bushing issue and some of the ways that we need to monitor that. You're using it basically an existing device that has been primarily used for icing detection, because it has this magic IMU inside of it. So it can detect blade motion. That is now being applied for root bushing debonds, which is a really smart move.
Yeah, I think it was probably about 6 months ago, one of the largest operators in the US was asked what is one of their biggest problems, and it was root debond. And so we sort of shifted our focus a bit, and since then we've been monitoring, exactly like you say, our on-blade eye sensor was repurposed to measure vibration, what the blades are doing. And so we've got some really cool stuff going on there. And so we've also repurposed that for measuring root debond. And actually, yesterday, I received the best plot ever, a big, beautiful plot.
One big, beautiful plot.
Showing the results so we can measure root debond. So yeah, we're now looking for a bit of a wait list for customers that want to take up this service, because we know it's a pain.
What does deployment look like?
Sensor on the front, sensor on the back, from the hub on the outside.
Okay, so outside the blade at the root.
At the root, yeah.
Okay.
So you climb out, get on top of the hub, slap it on the front, the back, each blade, and a comms box.
That's it.
Comms box goes in the cell.
Yeah.
Wireless, just power and communicates itself.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Easy.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy. Okay.
That's at half a day a tower.
Yeah.
Oh, with that, yeah.
I could do it.
Yeah, well, I think that because the root bushing issue hasn't been solved at the OEM level yet, and because there's so many safe harbor blades, and Joel, you pointed out, like, there's a couple of years of safe harbor blades out there. That root bushing issue has been sitting in the field for the last 2 years, and now we're going to deploy these blades because we're in a rush to do it. The root bushing issue, if you know what model number is susceptible to it, you could actually install the EOLOGIX-PING system on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
It would take 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think probably the big thing that we've been sort of realizing is that the whole industry is cost constrained. And so what we've been trying to do is look at, well, what is a business case? And so there's no point in developing a product unless there's a really clear return. So we really tried to optimize the cost of our system time for installation so that the customers absolutely get a return on investment.
Well, and the cost of any installation for a product is 1/3 the cost of the product, 2/3 the cost of installation, typically.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So doing it on the ground is going to save you 2/3 of the cost, typically.
Yeah.
And that's where it should be done.
Well, I think that's something that we, Alan, you and I, on a podcast or off the podcast, harp on all the time. For everybody in wind, it's an industry thing, but clear business case. Thank you.
Be smart.
Thank you.
Be smart. Be smart. Can I just do a little segue? This is another one of my favorite topics. So we've sort of released a technology-enabled service function now, which is actually using our hardware to delve into problems. And the first customer we had on that was blade twist. So we instrumented a longish blade. I can't say how long.
100 meters? Greater than 100 meters?
Around.
Okay.
Around. And we instrumented at the root, 50%, 70%, and we were able to measure the blade twisting in operation.
Okay.
And how much it's twisting and how much it's twisting can be compared against the design. And there's a whole lot of standards around this topic, which I think is an industry issue coming up.
It's very difficult to test. Portion.
Yeah, and it's not even in the standard necessarily.
Not right now, no. The OEMs are sort of doing it.
So this is one of my favorite projects.
And there's a lot of
blade twist.
There's a lot of engineers that will say this twists, this doesn't. Field people saying it actually, what's the Siemens model that does the active pitch?
Yeah.
That they say it doesn't actually have torsion on it, but some people say in the field it does.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's all about the life. It's all about the life. I mean, really, if you want 20, 30, whatever years, you need to know.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Is it behaving?
Yeah. So that's an interesting conversation we talked about earlier. I think it was yesterday, of digital twins with composites, because the tough thing with that is a composite's always changing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always a fatigue life, and the strength of it, and the amount of twist, and those things are going to change throughout its life. So to develop a digital twin is very difficult.
Yeah.
Right. So you can sense things, yes, and that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But developing a actual digital twin that you can, 100% rely on is difficult.
And I think the torsion question changes based upon where you are in the world. In northern, colder climates, I think the torsion issue is a little bit different than you get closer to the equator and it's warmer.
Yeah, the turbulence and
throw in turbulence.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution there. You need to understand what's happening on your site in particular in regards to torsion and a number of other things, vibrational modes and root bushings, the same thing. I think some of the root bushing issues that I'm hearing about are where it's a little bit warmer, right? Where we're seeing some issues there because of the temperature and maybe humidity. But so you can't always take the data from Denmark and apply it worldwide. You can't apply that necessarily to Australia. You need to put some sensors on it and monitor it. Even if you're monitoring on a sampling basis on a turbine you don't have any experience on, at least you know what is likely to happen. And then you can do some prediction, have a little bit of a model of what 5 years out looks like.
Yeah, you and I walked through a case one time with a guest on the podcast about the same exact turbine model, like serial numbers that are real close to each other, deployed in Sweden and deployed in Thailand.
Ah, cool.
And the ones in Thailand had way more of the same serial issue, and the ones in Sweden had like one.
Wow.
The ones in Thailand had like 100.
Interesting.
But they equated it to heat and humidity in the affecting the layup.
A lot we don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot we don't know because we don't
need sensors for it.
Exactly. The sensor part has been the missing link of saving operators millions of dollars a year. We are literally talking about those numbers. A lot of the big savings have already happened. Now we're looking, when I say big savings, operators are pretty smart about cutting $10 million out of a budget because that's what they do for a living. You got a lot of smart people in the room trying to do that. Now we're looking for $1 million grabs as many places as we can. Sensors are going to be that $1 million grab.
Well, I think the sensor thing, and this is a macro comment about blade sensing technology. When I first got into the wind industry full-time, 2019, you guys were around, right? There was blade sensing products around and IoT products for blades around, but it was like even up 21, 22, 23, you had panels at sessions going like, yeah, we know there's stuff out there, all these operators saying, but it really seems in the last year and with the One Big Beautiful Bill here that people are actually listening. They're seeing the technology, they're deploying it more. I mean, you've got 2,000 systems out in the field,
2.5,
2,500 systems of all different
Yeah,
products
yeah.
for different solutions, and you're seeing more people seeing the value in it, adopting it, looking at doing things more intelligently. So that to me is very promising.
Yeah, and I think also at this event we announced some of the results of a study that we did, with you guys as well, around the nearly 3,000 lightning events we've been measuring over the last 12 months. Sorry, 12 years, 12 months,
12 years.
It feels like
a lot of good data.
It feels
12
like
years.
12 years.
Yeah.
And so we've got some really good data about this ties into the risk factor. Which turbines are being struck more, which ones need to be more attention, and so 3,000 strikes. So I think in the next 12 months we'll get 6,000 when we get more units out. So data feeding back into reducing risk.
Yeah, so data reducing risk through like showing realities.
Yeah.
Right. So to anybody listening here, if you're interested in what the latest we've seen in ground truthing lightning strike data, to lightning location services, to what's actually happening in the field, get a hold of us. Get a hold of Alan, myself, Matthew. We'll hop on a call, walk you through what this data looks like. It's eye-opening.
Yeah. Upward strikes.
Upward strikes.
Yeah, upward strikes were really prevalent this year in the United States.
Yeah.
We've been tracking it pretty closely, and Matthew, I think you threw a number out like 20%.
Yeah, definitely.
Of wind turbine strikes were upward strikes.
Yeah, or more. I mean, that's for the full 12 months.
Right.
So when you look at winter,
it goes up by substantially. Yeah. So it varies by season. All this is leading to an event that's going to happen in February in Melbourne, Australia. So we've been working hard behind the scenes on Wind Energy O&M Australia 2026. Last year we had about 180 people, 200 people locally. Yeah, so it was a big sized crowd. We had to close the door.
And we planned for 80.
Yeah, we planned for half of that and to double it. And this year the response has been fantastic. Everybody's starting to register already. What is the website right now, just so if I don't forget it? WOMA2026.com. WOMA2026.com. You can go and register there if you're interested in being a presenter or being on a panel. You can also put in your information there. It is going to be full.
Or a sponsor,
right? So looking for a couple of sponsors. We have a lot of sponsors. If you had a lot of sponsors already sign up and commit, especially a number from last year, signed up again this year, because it's a transfer of knowledge. You're bringing people together that are experts in their field to talk to other experts about how they are running their assets. That is what you need. If you're an operator, you want to put your engineers in that room and your asset managers in that room to get to the best configuration, the best setup for turbines in Australia, turbines in America, turbines in Brazil. That's where everybody's going to be coming together. And Melbourne in February is a lot better weather than anything in the United States for sure, unless you're in Miami maybe. But Melbourne is a beautiful city. It's easy to get around in. It's an easy airport in and out of, flights all the time. It is a simple place to get to, even though it is a long distance from the United States. It's easy. Yeah. That's one of the things I enjoyed the most was pleasant weather, great restaurants, a lot of really, really good presentations and panels. And I walked out with a lot more knowledge than when I walked in.
I think Joel's line was by engineers for engineers. So I think that helped a lot. And I think the other thing that this is very clearly a not-for-profit event. And so it's really about the knowledge and knowledge sharing rather than salesy stuff.
Yeah. At that event, it's much like the conversations we were talking about at the beginning of this little episode that's happening here right now, where we are it's engineers talking to engineers, people that don't know each other. Oh, you work for this operator? Let's exchange information because you can help me. That at that conference last year, it was basically all of the major operators that probably 90 to 95% of the installed capacity of wind were represented there. Plus the limited amount of ISPs that started to grow. That market started to change a little bit. We took some feedback from the event last year and adjusted it this year to be a little bit. We're going to do some roundtables that are based on case studies, real things that happened, real value. This is how much money was saved. This is how much time was saved. This is how the solution was implemented. Again, like we said, going in there and walking away with something that's tangible. That you can bring back to your operation and say, hey, I learned this. We should try this.
Yeah, that's going to be the great thing about it. And we're only a couple months away. So if you're interested in going to Wind Energy O&M Australia 2026, you need to get to the website, WOMA, and register, WOMA2026.com. Matthew, it's so great to connect. We rarely are in the same place at the same time. We're always in different continents.
That's because this guy travels too much.
And Matthew's actually heading to Japan here tomorrow.
Yes.
To do some installations in Japan because EOLOGIX is exploded worldwide. There's so many deployments going on simultaneously. It's really hard to keep up with. Every time I talk to you, I mean, I'm going to a different place. You're putting more sensors on. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's about time, right?
It's good to go inside.
The industry is moving towards more knowledge, and that's great. So Matthew, thank you so much for being here. And if anybody needs to get a hold of you, Matthew, how do they do that?
Through my LinkedIn profile might be the easiest. Matthew Stead, EOLOGIX-PING. Go for it.
All right, great. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Joel. Good to be here.